Welcome to the Digital Real Estate Secrets Podcast. This is episode 4. And guys, today we're going to be talking about why I'm going to share with you guys why the rank and rent digital real estate model is broken. Yes, that I said that correctly. This is not clickbait. And I purposely haven't brought this up until this point if you've been watching the episodes from the beginning, because I wanted to lay the foundation for how the model actually works, because that's the way that I actually went through my journey is I discovered this model. And by the way, let me actually backpedal just a little bit. Number one, I don't re-record, I don't edit this. I completely raw dog these episodes. So if I stumble around a bit, you're just gonna have to deal with it. This is how I roll. I like things to be a little bit more authentic and raw. So I apologize there, but I'm gonna backpedal just a little bit. So if you're brand new to this model, or just hearing about this for the first time, or hearing about me, when we say this model, we are talking about the simple business model, the simplest business model on the internet, where you pick a local city, a local niche and city. We'll use an example, concrete. You build a simple website on, and for me, I use a web builder. I use Weebly. You could also use WordPress, whatever. So you pick a niche, you pick a city, you build a site, you rank it on Google, and when you rank it, phone calls will start to come in. That's just how it works. And you take those phone calls and you put a deal together with a local business owner in that specific city. Because of course, you don't do concrete. You just get leads. You have phone calls coming in. That's the business model. Beautiful thing is when the calls come in, you can then forward them to the local business owner. You can take your hands and yourself out of the equation, and it becomes very passive. Nothing is 100% passive, but it is very, very passive. Okay, I'm gonna take my gum out real quick because that's bugging. So for those that don't know who I am, my name is Nick Wood. You shouldn't listen to me, just so you know. You should not listen. You shouldn't believe me. Let me correct myself. You shouldn't believe anything that I say. Okay. And if you don't want to listen to me, that's your business too. You should assume I'm full of crap. You should assume that I'm like every other person on the internet and that everything that I say is completely a farce. I want you to take this information. I want you to, number one, ask yourself, does this actually resonate? And by the way, the older that you get, the more you realize you can smell BS. You can smell when somebody's full of it and somebody's not, and it becomes very easy. So as I'm going through what we're going to talk about today, I want you to ask yourself, has this guy actually done this? Does this guy know what he's talking about? Or is this a bunch of fluff? Okay. So that's number one. And I want you to also know that I've been doing this for 8 years. I've literally lost millions of dollars, and that's not like some funny thing to say or some catchy thing to say. I have lost millions of dollars. I have spent over 1.45 or 1.47 million dollars in Google Ads alone, which we're going to get into just a little bit, to test this business model. Okay, which you're going to understand. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, this will make sense. It's not that complicated, okay? I have also made millions of dollars doing this. And I'm not talking about selling a program on how to do it. I'm talking about building simple websites, ranking them on Google, renting them out to local business owners, rinsing and repeating. I have made millions of dollars doing this. And so that is why I think this, you could consider believing what I have to say. But I want you to test things that I say. I want you to ask yourself if it resonates, and I want you to test it. I want you to put it to the test, because if it's true, then there's nothing to hide, right? So that's always been my belief. So guys, as I said, that's the business model. In 2020, I'm gonna kind of tell you guys the story of how I came to realize that this business model is and is broken. Okay. Just so everybody knows though, my goal, I just want to let you kind of lay this out. My goal for this episode is that by the end of the episode, I'm going to be able to expose to you that I'm going to expose this model for what it is. I'm going to help you see that it is indeed broken. And I'm going to reassure you that there is a way to circumvent the part that's broken, okay, to make it perfect, to make it as close to perfect as you can get with a business model, okay? And this is actually the missing piece that it took for me to scale. So in 2016, 17, 18, 19, I was learning, I was trying, I was making some money, but it was so frustrating because I couldn't scale. Okay. I almost gave up twice. In 2019, I kind of had like my moment, like I'm done, dude. I'm done with this. I'm gonna go and be a salesperson because I'm good at sales. And luckily I didn't. And one of the reasons I was frustrated because I couldn't scale, and I started mapping out, like, I had this realization, this is the right model, right? If I want to make the kind of money I want to make, which at the time was $100,000 a month, I need a business that has certain things. It has to be recurring, it has to be scalable, it has to be internet based, da, 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 da. I had this list. And then I realized, you know what, Nick? Dude, you have the model. It's right here. It's this website rental business that you're doing it, but apparently you're not doing it correctly. And so there were a few things that I wasn't doing correctly. But one of the things was that I wasn't able to scale. And one of the things was that I wasn't able to scale because one of the things that's tough about this business is you build a website and you have to wait for a website to rank, right? So if I build a website today, it doesn't just rank overnight. It's going to take 4 to 6 months on average. And if you're in a competitive industry or a competitive city, it can take 9 months, 12 months. My second project I ever built took over a year to rank. And so I'm like, dude, in order for me to make $100,000 a month, I'm going to have to build like 200 websites today, wait 4 to 6 months on, let's say 30% of them that rank, and then, or 50%. And then I'm not even going to be able to start selling these things for like, 4 to 6 months. And it just didn't make any sense. So I'm going to explain to you how I was able to circumvent that piece, because I think the part that's broken about this model is that you have to wait 4 to 6 months. Nobody wants to wait 4 to 6 months. I understand for how much money you can make from one of these projects, 4 to 6 months is nothing. But in order to scale a business model, having to wait 4 to 6 months every time you build a new project is ridiculous. Okay. So guys, the plan today is this. This is kind of what I'm going to cover. I'm going to, again, I like to do this, at least in these first few episodes. I'm just going to review how the traditional model works quickly. Okay. Then we're going to talk about the ranking process, how it takes time, and then what you can do to actually speed up the scaling of this business, how you can, I would say, get around it. You can't speed up the ranking, but there's a way that we can do this so that it doesn't matter how long it takes, is a better way to put it. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about the caveats, which is the things that you don't know because you just don't know them. Okay. I'm going to talk about why this makes it all impossible to scale. I'm going to talk about my day of reckoning back in December of 2020. And then, December of 2019, not 2020. And then I'm going to quickly introduce the concept that has allowed me to completely blow this thing out of the water, has allowed me to make millions of dollars, has allowed me to do things with my life at this age that I never thought I'd be able to do. And we are going to cover all that in this episode, and we're going to keep it very tight and succinct. Okay. Also, real quick, guys, if you like this episode, what you like what you're hearing, you continue to like what you're hearing, although I'm doing this for myself as kind of like a business journal, I also realize that this can be very helpful for a lot of people, and I want to grow my business. I want more people to know about what we're up to. And yes, I am doing this to make money at the same time. So it would be greatly appreciated that if you do like it, then if you could like it, if you could subscribe or follow, and also if you could share it on your social media. If you could just do the little share button and put it on your Instagram story or your Facebook story or wherever the case is, I would really, really appreciate you. Okay. And for those of you that are worried that if you share it, it's all of a sudden that everybody's going to do it and you're not going to be able to make any money, that's completely false. You have the wrong mindset. You need to think more, I hate to say abundantly because that's overused, but guys, I said this on the last episode. The laws of marketing state that the more familiar a person is with a product or service, the more apt they are to buy. And that is so true. So for those of you that think that if you tell other people or other people get into this business model that you're now not going to be able to make money, it's actually the opposite. The more we go and pitch these business owners, the more that all of us are calling these business owners and telling them there's a better way to do lead generation. There's a better way to get local jobs in their market. And it's by working with people like us. The more apt they are to buy. They might not buy this year, but they might buy next year. They might buy the year after. And if you guys are in this business for good, like I am, you guys can talk to people today, and in 3 years, they're going to be ready. In 2 years, they're going to be ready. In 6 months, they're going to be ready. And I've had this happen so many times. And if you sit in a business for long enough and you tell people what you do and they know you as that guy or that gal, you start to get business that you planted seeds for 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And that's just how it works. So with that said, guys, let's get into this episode and let's go. All right, so just to recap, once again, the business model that we are talking about here, which is called Rank and Rent Digital Real Estate, it's very, very simple. Okay, step one, pick a city. Step two, pick a niche. Step three, build a website. Step four, do some SEO and rank the website for certain terms, for certain things that people will search. And lastly, go rent it out to a local business owner. That's it. That's the whole model. Now, I know that sounds overly simplistic. That's it. That's the whole, that is the model. Now there's questions, right? How do you pick a city? Well, we talk about that. We train on that inside of our program. And there's also, we have material on YouTube inside of our free Facebook group, inside of our free Discord channel that kind of give you some tips and some tricks on how to pick a city, how to pick a niche. Building a website. It's not as hard as it sounds. Doing SEO. I know everyone thinks, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do SEO and getting the leads is the hardest, but it's not the hardest part. The hardest part is actually getting the business owner to work with you and to pay you every single month a flat fee, even though they have no guarantee. That's the hardest part. It's not getting leads. Getting leads is easy because if you pick the right city, you pick the right niche, getting the leads becomes very simple because you don't have that much competition to go against. Okay, so that is the model. Now, the problem with the model, as I stated earlier, is that ranking takes time and only so much can be done to actually speed it up. I know there's people that are out there like, oh my gosh, I can rank, they're telling you I can rank in 60 days, I can rank in 30 days. No. Okay. On average, you're looking at 4 to 6 months to rank a website. And for those people that I've worked with, I used to do SEO as a service, which stands for search engine optimization. For those of you that are new to this model, search engine optimization basically means optimizing your site, doing stuff to your site to make it show up in the search results of Google. I used to do this as a service where people would give me their website, I would get it ranked, and then I would hand it back to them and they would pay me. By the way, I still do that exact same thing, SEO, but instead of doing it on their website, I do it on my own websites. And so I retain the asset instead of trading my time for dollars. It's just a slight shift and it's made all the difference in the world. Okay. But even when I was doing that as a service, I would let my clients know, I would tell them very matter of factly, dude, ma'am, whoever it was, it's going to take time. You're probably not going to see anything happen for 4 to 6 months. Just so you know, you're not going to see much movement for 4 to 6 months. I can send you a report. I can show you what I'm doing. But in terms of what's actually going to happen on the result, it's going to take time. Okay. And so, guys, the issue with that is a 4 to 6 month turnaround is for you to do any kind of projections, for you to do any kind of scale. It's just tough, right? It's tough to stay motivated. It's also tough because you have carrying costs, right? You're going to have to pay for hosting if you want to do this on a big scale, let's say 100 websites doing, paying for all the hosting, paying for all the domains, paying for the build outs and all this different stuff. It takes time and it takes money and people get frustrated. Okay. Now, once in a while, are you going to find a website in an area and you're going to do SEO and it's going to be 60 to 90 days? Yes, that does happen, but usually it's in a very tiny town with not much search volume, with not much competition, which also means there's not much upside. Okay. So that's, again, this is the issue. And I actually did have this happen to me one time. I had this little concrete website. Sorry, it wasn't even concrete. It was in window tinting, the niche, which, by the way, I do not recommend. I did 2 projects in window tinting. I got a client for one of them, and it's a friend of mine, and he ended up selling the business. And I don't even have a client for that website anymore. I don't love the niche. It can work. It's not a great niche. So just to throw that out there. Okay. But I've only seen that happen basically once. So it's going to take time. So here's the things that you guys don't understand about this whole business model. Okay. And this is stuff that you don't really understand until you get into it, until you do it. And I'm going to go through them real quick. Okay. And that is this. On top of the time that it takes to actually rent the website, you have to understand that just because you build a website in a specific industry does not guarantee that you're going to rank. Okay, even if you do the right SEO that I teach you inside my program or that somebody else teaches you on wherever you learned it, does not guarantee that's going to rank. Now, usually it will, as long as it's not too competitive, as long as you don't go into some crazy industry and city, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, that's number one. So imagine doing 4 to 6 months worth of work and then it doesn't even get ranked. That's frustrating, right? Now, let's say it does rank. Just because the website ranks doesn't guarantee you're going to get leads. Your landing page could suck and it doesn't convert. You could be in a city, maybe you're in California and you're building a website in Mississippi, right? And you don't know, but that specific city, for whatever reason, there's just not much demand, right? There's just not much demand. And that same service could have a ton of demand in your backyard. And I'll give you an example. In the city that I live in, there is, people will spend money on services. I'll use an example like pressure washing, right? That's kind of a luxury service because technically you don't need it. It's a nice thing, probably not the thing that you're gonna make sure to spend your money on if your money gets tight, but it's a nice service and people will pay for it in my city. If you go 45 minutes north to this little tiny city called Cedar City, where I used to live and I used to have a place and I used to go to college, nobody pays for the service. Nobody pays for the service. Everybody is to DIY. Everybody wants to do it themselves. And if they look at a service like that, they're going to go, well, I'll just buy a pressure washer and do it myself. Why would I spend the money? And so even though on paper, it may look like a good whatever, if you build a pressure washing site in Cedar City, Utah, you are probably, even if you rank that website, I guarantee you're not going to get many leads. That would be my gut feeling from doing this. So just because you rank website doesn't mean you're going to get leads. I built a website in Lincoln, Nebraska one time for a specific service, and I've been doing this in tons of different cities. I built it, I ranked it, and it took me like six months to rank. And to this day, I actually canceled the website, the domain, because of what I'm going to tell you. But to this day, not a single lead was generated from that website. Same exact template. I know it's a converting template. It should have made money. It should have gotten leads, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to get leads just because you rank a website. So imagine 6 months of your life, you do rank it, you spend all this time, and boom, you're ranking. Woo, good job. Okay, nothing's coming in. I see this happen in all these groups that I'm a part of. I own a Facebook group. You guys, by the way, if you look in the description, we have a free Facebook group. You guys can get a bunch of free information. It's a great community. But it's you can go to artofdre.com, by the way, artofdre.com, and you can fill out a few questions, get access to that Facebook group. But in that Facebook group, I see people all the time saying the same thing. They're like, I'm ranking and I'm getting no leads. And it's like, because you did the wrong due diligence. You didn't even choose the right city, right? So again, just because you do rank a website doesn't mean you're going to get leads, doesn't guarantee you're going to get leads. Now, let me go a step further. Just because the website ranks and it gets leads, you're like, oh my gosh, I've actually made it. I'm getting leads. I'm good. Doesn't guarantee that there is going to be a hungry business owner. And this is what I didn't understand. And this is what most people don't understand is like, you can go and you can build a website, you can get leads, and it looks like the most perfect project in the world. And you start calling around and I know everybody thinks once you get leads, it's going to be so easy to put a deal together. You'd be surprised. Okay. This is the hardest part of the entire process. And it's the reason why my entire Digital Landlords program is focused on making money first and then ranking and renting the website second, because it doesn't matter if you can rank, if you can't get a deal, if you can't get money, who cares, right? So I've had websites before I knew how to get a deal properly, before I had the process that I have now. And like I had a towing website, which I don't love that niche either. I used to do this niche, but it was my first project ever. I got a client, first client ever, and then I lost the client. And I could not, for the love of anything, get somebody to pay me for those leads. Nobody was hungry. And everyone was like, yeah, but we're good, man. And yeah, but we're getting a ton of business from our, their thinking was that if you don't give me these leads, I'm probably going to get them anyway. And the truth is, like, they were probably right, because there wasn't a lot of competition. And so imagine you spend all this time, you do rank the website, you get excited, then you do start getting leads, you get even more excited, and now you spend 6 months trying to find a business owner, and you can't give these leads away. I know it sounds crazy, and you guys think that just because you give free leads to somebody for a couple days, they're just going to open up their wallet, give you their credit card. That's not true at all, okay? I'm going to go one step further. Just because you build a website doesn't mean you're going to rank it. But let's say you rank it, let's say it's getting leads, and let's say you do find a hungry business owner. You're good, right? No, you're not. Because guess what? Just because there's a hungry business owner that's willing to pay you does not mean they know how to close deals. And if you go all through those steps and you do find somebody that is willing to pay in the beginning, if they do not close deals, if they're not good at closing deals, they're not a good business owner, they're not a good closer, they're not good at following up, they're not good at this stuff, you will lose them. Okay, you will lose them. And if there's not, another person to go to, now you're back at square one and you're like back in the grind of finding it. And so, and I promise you guys, even though someone's willing to pay you today for your leads, you can sign a 3-month deal with them, a 6-month deal. If they do not make money, they will eventually cancel. If they do not make money, they will eventually cancel. And that is the reality. And sometimes it takes actually having it happen to you to realize that that's the truth. So let's talk about why all of this makes it nearly impossible to scale. Okay. And I've alluded to some of this earlier in the episode, but guys, number one is when you are building websites and trying to scale up, you start doing the math and you start making your spreadsheets and doing your projections. It gets exciting, but then you start to realize you're going to have to incur a lot of unnecessary, in my opinion, costs waiting for websites to rank. You got your hosting, you got your, the basic stuff, your tracking phone numbers. I mean, you do 100 tracking numbers at a $10 a rip, which I know there's some cheaper options if you know what you're doing, but let's just say $10 a rip. You're at $1,000 a month just in phone numbers. So you do that for, 6 months. You just incurred $6,000 in tracking phone numbers. Okay. Do the same thing with hosting. Okay, let's say that you buy a domain for $12 and then after that it's $24 a year. Well, it's $12, right? Let's just say it's $2 a month, or $12 usually what they charge you up front. So anyway, $12, you go buy 100 domains, there's another $1,200, right? Plus and we're not even talking about the cost to write the content if you hire it out, the cost to spend the time to actually build out that many websites. Like, it's all these crazy things, and it makes it almost impossible to scale. And on top of that, guys, you don't even know, out of those 100 websites, you're going to have to just assume, all right, there's only going to be, X percentage of these that actually turn into money. Okay. And so, guys, it becomes very impossible to actually scale this business model. So let me take you to my day of reckoning back in December of 2019. So what happened to me is this. I was tired. I was done. I couldn't scale. I was at like $8,000 to $10,000 per month. Just tired, dude. I was like, I used to do door-to-door sales. Yeah, it sucked, but I would only have to work 5 months a year, and I was making more money than I'm making right now. I'm like, maybe I should just go back to being a salesperson. So I sat down. I wrote down. I had a yellow legal pad. I turned off my phone. I grabbed the pen, and I wrote, "What do you want? What do you want, Nick?" And I put, the first thing that came to my mind was $100,000 a month. And I kind of, that's another story for another day. That entire thing was quite career changing for me. It really let me know what I want, why I want it, and we'll talk about that later. But the point is, I put $100,000 a month. That's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. And so the whole thing about it, though, is I started realizing that this was the correct model, but like something was missing, and that was the part. So I knew that this is the right model. So I started doing the projections. That's when I realized that the cost I was gonna have to go into like another $20,000 in debt, like if I was lucky. And by the way, at this point I had $60,000 of debt because of a failed venture a couple years early. Another story for another day. Okay. And so I started just kind of playing with some ideas. I'm like, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And I'd heard about this idea. Okay, so I don't want to take complete credit for this, because I had heard about this idea from another group that I was a part of, where you could actually test a market, where you could actually go into a market, test it out first to basically guarantee that you are going to be able to rank, you're going to be able to get leads, you're going to be able to find a hungry business owner, and all this different stuff. And so I became obsessed with this idea of testing out a market. And so in 2020, which coincided perfectly with the lockdown, stay at home. We started as 2 weeks, and then it turned into like a year, but it played well into me, because it helped me a lot, because it allowed me to just sit down and focus. I didn't have anything to do. Like I had nothing I was missing out on, is a better way to say it. But in 2020, the first 3 months, I became obsessed with this idea, and I was like, I am figuring this out. And I changed my entire mindset from, I'm going to do this until, this date, or I'm going to do this until I spend this much money, or I'm going to try 5 more projects. I changed my entire mindset to like, I am going to do this until it works, period, end of story. And that changed everything for me. So in 2020, I got I would call it scientific about this. I became obsessed with every nuanced detail, and I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Blank canvas. I'm going to figure this out. Here's the business model. Here's the hole in it. Biggest challenge is the 4 to 6 month wait. What can be done about it? And so now I want to introduce the concept, and the solution to all this, guys, is that you go and you pre-sell the websites. The solution to this is that you, instead of rank a website and then rent it, you rent it first and then you rank it. You flip the business model on its head. And imagine if there was a way that I could go and I could get a business owner to give me their credit card to sign a contract today for a website that I own, so that he would immediately start paying me money today, even though my website wasn't ranking, and it wouldn't be ranking for 4 to 6 months, but I'd get paid the entire time while I was ranking this website. Imagine a scenario like that. It would be crazy, right? And it sounds bananas, it sounds bizarre, and it doesn't make any sense if you think about it in the physical real estate world. But because these websites are so cheap to build, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to our episode on the cost to build these assets, you can check that out in episode 3. But there is a way, and I'm going to explain that, okay? So there is a way, guys, in which you can go into a future city and niche combination, and you can find out roughly how many leads a top ranking, like if I were to rank that website, if I were to go into Minneapolis concrete, roughly how many leads would I expect? Number one. What would the competition be like? Number two. Are there hungry business owners? Number three. Do these hungry business owners know how to close? There is an actual way. And guys, this is actually without ever paying for a domain, without writing any unique content, without paying for hosting. And it is called pre-selling. And it is something that I have become known for. It is the only way that I do deals. I have not done the traditional, I call it the wheelchair method. I call it the slow method. I call it the grandpa. No offense to grandpas. I love grandpas. I want to be a grandpa one day. I call it the grandpa method. I call it the I'm allergic to money method. Why would I wait 4 to 6 months if there's a better way to do this? And I'm going to give you just a quick little teaser because we're going to cover this in depth on the next episode. But this business model is broken, but this is the way to fix it. This is the solution to fix it. The solution is pre-selling. The solution is a scenario where you can go into that city, into that niche. You can go and you can get a deal in Minneapolis, for example, Minneapolis concrete. You can get a deal, you can get a contract, you can get a credit card, and you can get somebody to pay you every single month for a website that is not yet ranked. And what that does is it allows you to make money the entire time that you're ranking the website. And it doesn't matter if the website ranks in 6 months. It doesn't matter if the website ranks in 12 months because you're making money the entire time. And the little preview that I'll give you is that what we utilize, and this was something I talked about at the beginning, is we utilize paid advertising. And there is a method and there is a way that you can go in using paid advertising. You can push traffic to not even a website, but just a simple landing page. You can go and you can get leads without ever building a website. You can use those leads to put a deal together with a local business owner, get a contract signed, get a credit card on file inside your Stripe account, and start banging that card and getting him leads through paid advertising, but still making $400, $500, $600 out of, let's say, $1,000 deal the entire time you're ranking, which means that it costs you nothing. There's no out-of-pocket cost other than a few dollars in ads at the beginning. And guess what? You can scale. There's unlimited scale because you're no longer bound. You no longer have a constraint of money. You no longer have a constraint of time. Oh, I got to wait 4 to 6 months. No, you don't have to wait at all. You could do it today. You could get leads today, and it changes the freaking game. And this, my friends, is what allowed me to go from $8,000 to $10,000 per month in December of 2019, almost ready to quit, almost ready to just question my entire existence, to doing $100,000 per month. July 2020, we did $100,000 per month. In 8 months, we grew that much because I removed the constraint, the financial constraint and the time constraint, and everything changed. Okay. And just so you know, it's not just me that's doing this method. As I talked about earlier, inside of Digital Landlords, we have one student that's doing $75,000 per month. He started 2 years ago. He's doing $75,000 per month, $900,000 a year. Now that's top line. But imagine if you started a new venture. Imagine starting something today, a new job, a new career, a new business, a new whatever, and you knew that in 2 years, you were going to be making $900,000 a month. That'd be pretty exciting, right? Yeah, it would. So the next episode, guys, we're going to be talking all about this concept of pre-selling, renting first, ranking later. I'm super excited. This is my claim to fame. This is what I'm known for. This is my baby, and I cannot wait to get into it. Guys, if you like this episode, please, I beg, as we say in Creole in West Africa, that means please, I beg, share this episode, subscribe, follow, whatever. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Really quick, don't forget, check the description. We have a free Facebook group. We have a free Discord channel. I have a free mini course at rentsimplesites.com. And for those of you that value your time over money and realize you can't get back time, but you can make back money, apply to Digital Landlords, and we will reach out to you if you fit the criteria and talk and give you the information on what it looks like to become a student and part of our community. Okay. With that said, guys, remember money, love, speed, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'm out.